Hello, School Transportation Nation. Tony Corpin here with School Transportation News. You made it to the podcast, brought to you by Transfinder, the leader in school bus routing software. Just a little bit later, I'll be talking to their president and CEO, Antonio Civitella. We've got a great conversation in store for you. But before we get to that, my great co-host, Miss Taylor Hannon. Welcome, Taylor.
Hello. Great to be back. Welcome, Nation.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, we've been busy bees getting the June issue out to the press. So Mr. Ryan Gray is busy working on that. I think it's just like an excuse to like get Taylor onto the podcast, but we love having you. So like, why not?
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, June, it's crazy that we're already sending June out, but it's definitely a jam-packed issue, a lot of good articles in it. So I'm looking forward to everyone else out there getting to read it and see what we've been cooking up this last month.
Yeah, I know. I've been working feverishly on the STN Expo Reno conference overview. So that is going to be available for you guys to check out. I actually will be putting that in PDF form up on the STN Expo Reno website. If you go to stnexpo.com/west and search for the new conference overview, there is a lot of detailed information for you to share inside your operation, stakeholders, anybody that you think you need to share it with to make sure you get yourself to that conference July 15th through the 20th. So we'd love to have you guys join us. And Taylor and I are going to be talking about some of the top headlines today happening. So Taylor, hit us with it. What do you got in your bag of news headlines?
Oh man, put me on the spot. I got so much. Well, speaking of June and kind of jumping off of this month, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, one article that we had written for June that, we just had so much going on that we ended up putting it online because the issue was so full already, is the healthy approach to attracting and retaining talent. And it's a great special report. So if you guys haven't seen it yet, definitely go check it out at stnonline.com. But what was interesting is one school district, Aspen School District in Colorado, actually gives its employees $600 a year as a wellness benefit. And so the article kind of says that they can use the $600 for anything to help employees, emotionally, physically, or spiritually. So it mentioned ski passes, massages, bikes, sporting apparel, or medical bills. So that's really interesting.
Wait. Time out. Skiing?
Right?
I need to get here. This is an amazing benefit. Are you kidding me? Apparel? Some like shoe therapy, maybe, Taylor. I think you might need it.
Hey, we all need shoe therapy. But yeah, I mean, that's an awesome way to attract employees. Hey, we give you $600 a year, spend it on what makes you happy. And I don't think we do that enough. We're always focused on, we got to pay bills. We got to do this. So having this extra $600, I mean, I'm sure that's huge.
I don't know, Taylor. I'm thinking, is that something I should do at STN with the team? Maybe
Hey, you heard it here first, guys.
Oh, that sounds like a really good idea. I love great ideas. I think when you come up with things like this, we were just talking a little bit about it earlier before we got on the podcast. It was, hey, what are people doing to retain employees? What are they doing to appreciate people? Because realistically, there's a scale of pay that people are at. And maybe somebody's got an offer a little bit better, but it's not enough to make you leave because you like the culture or you like some of the other intangibles that you get at the places that you work. And I think the tough part for a lot of school districts is they're in this salary race where everybody is paying $1 more or $1 more, and everybody's kind of outdoing each other and cannibalizing each other. And these are really great ideas to be able to kind of provide some financial support to employees to actually do something that they love. But you got to hold people accountable. Like, hey, I need to see the receipt for that ski pass or those shoes, I guess, right? But yeah, I think it's an interesting approach, Taylor.
Yeah, and I definitely think culture has a lot to do with it. You mentioned, just beating people by $1, but it's not about that, right? It is about the culture and where you go to work. And I actually wrote another article online about a Texas school bus driver who is going on 40 years this August at the district, but her mom and sister were also drivers at the district for over 20 years. So seriously, talk about a family legacy here. But she helped out with the district during the driver's shortage. She actually retired and then came back just because she loved the culture so much. They're now naming a middle school after her. So I don't know if you've ever heard of a school building being named after a school bus driver, Tony, but it's happening in Texas.
Well, you know what? Recognition is a very powerful thing, Taylor. And I think that no matter what, when you recognize stakeholders like that and you appreciate them, that has like a halo effect of other drivers. Hey, did you hear so and so has put in all this time? They've been appreciated instead of them just being forgotten. Right. I feel like memorializing someone like that is really special. So, kudos, round of applause to them for doing such a thing and recognizing these kind of workers that aren't really thanked, right? And maybe, the kids, they love them. The parents, it's kind of a love-hate relationship sometimes, right? It kind of differs everywhere. But I really feel like school bus drivers are just unsung heroes. And this is a great way to recognize greatness and longevity and frankly, tenure. Right. If someone has been around and they've committed their life to this many years, I mean, gosh, what greater honor can you give them than naming a facility in their legacy? So, yeah, fabulous stuff, Taylor. I know there was a bunch of other headlines that have come out recently, too. We had one around Wi-Fi and E-rate. I think they're kicking around some ideas there. What's going on with that, Taylor?
Yeah. So, of course, a week before we go to print, right, this huge announcement comes out for school bus Wi-Fi. But we got in there. We got it in the June issue. Essentially, FCC Chair Jessica Rosen-Worcel announced a new proposal to allow E-rate funding for school bus Wi-Fi. So historically, right, school bus Wi-Fi has not been included in the E-rate program. And I don't know how long this thing has been around. It says 25 years here in this article that Ryan wrote. So that's a long time to be excluding school bus Wi-Fi when clearly it did so much during the pandemic to help bridge that digital divide.
Yeah, and I think, Taylor, the thing is ECF. Obviously, we're on the third round of ECF, and it just closed, a couple of weeks ago. And I really hope you guys applied for this last round, $1 billion, right? That was still kind of left in the program to access this technology. But this is a proposal to help you pay for it in perpetuity, right? I think everybody wondered, after I got it, maybe I have it for a year, then how do I pay for it after that? Well, here it is. The FCC is now saying, hey, we're going to give you the funds to pay for that Wi-Fi indefinitely so your students can benefit, so kids can access broadband for learning. And God knows what the next pandemic is going to be. School buses are going to be ready for the task to kind of address it. So it'll be very interesting, Taylor, to see the outcomes here. I know there's a lot of excitement that I've heard in the industry, a lot of buzz. We'll be talking about it at the conferences as well. I know at STN Expo Reno, we have a session on school bus Wi-Fi, and I'm sure as the news headlines roll, we'll adapt. But I feel like this might be a point that will be brought up and discussed further at the conferences.
Mm-hmm. I also wrote about it in the June issue.
Beautiful. Well, you guys can read about it there too, which is great.
Plug that again.
Thank you, Taylor.
Yeah, I'm here for it. But yeah, it's great that it's being talked about. It's great that it's, finally making its way to potentially be in the E-rate program now. And so I'm really excited to see where it's going to go and how school districts can benefit from it.
Wonderful. And then I know, Taylor, another big financial program is obviously this Clean School Bus Act, and which is, pretty much being deployed $5 billion over the next 5 years. And there have been a few webinars the EPA has done kind of providing some context. And if I'm not mistaken, there's another webinar on May 24th, correct?
Yeah. So depending on when you guys are listening to this, you could have already missed the webinar, but we'll probably have an article at stnonline.com about it. So definitely check it out. But from what I've been hearing, it either is opening or opening soon, the Clean School Bus program. So, I mean, all this money is available for electric school buses, clean school buses, so propane, CNG. Get your hands on this application. Go and apply. It's out there. The money is out there.
Yeah, I think that's a great call to action, Taylor. It's unprecedented, the amount of money that's being given to the school bus industry. And guys, we have to take advantage of it. We cannot let this go by. This is just so important for our kids in the industry to be able to take advantage of it. And the school bus industry has rarely been the tip of the spear in kind of inflection points in commercial vehicles. And I know when I was at the ACT Expo, the Advanced Clean transportation conference, basically in Long Beach a couple weeks ago, Matthias Karbaum, who's the CEO, president of Navistar, the parent company of IC Bus, pretty much laid out that school buses are the tip of the spear. And there's about an 8-year runway that's subsidized by grants, vouchers, rebates. There's a lot of different programs, financing. And Navistar said, hey, we're doubling down on this. And we really think this is the future of the commercial transportation industry, and how school buses were going to be the focus in the years to come. So here is our moment, guys, in the sun. The bright lights are on our industry. We got to take advantage of this funding. It's just so imperative. And last week, I was actually emceeing a webinar that was hosted with the folks at Amply Power and Palermo USD. They had talked a little bit about what was happening at their district and how they kind of had adopted EV. WRI was on there as well. So we had a really great discussion about funding and technology. And if you didn't watch the webinar, go check it out. It's on the stnonline.com website under multimedia and find webinar. And then we'll also have an article kind of synopsizing the webinar on the website as well coming soon. So keep an eye out for that from our own Claudia Newton. So exciting to hear that stuff. What other things are on the agenda, Taylor? I feel like there's so much happening.
Tony, I think there's another webinar that is coming up if you want to tease it a little bit for our audience to hear.
Yeah, sure, Taylor. Highland Fleets is putting on a webinar. It's talking about the EPA funding, how it works, how to turn on the grant dollars to make them successful for you, right? How to make those projects successful. That's June 16th. It's going to be at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. If you go on stnonline.com/tag/webinar, you'll be able to find it. You can also go on the STN Online website and go under that news multimedia, click webinars, and you'll be able to find it. So another great conversation around EV and funding and grants. So I'm really excited, Taylor. There's a lot of things happening in the school bus industry right now.
Yeah, and a lot of things to talk about when we're all in person together in Indianapolis. So I know that online registration is closed, but you guys can still drive out, come meet us in Indiana, come talk to us. You can register on site. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to be back in person, back there when it's not, freezing. So it's good that it's back in June. I'm really excited.
Yeah, me too, Taylor. June 3rd through the 7th. It's coming up really soon. I got my flight booked. I'm ready to go, checking all those travel plans. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see everybody out there. All right, coming up next, I am talking with Antonio Civitella, President, CEO of Transfinder. All right, guys, so excited to have on the podcast today Antonio Civitella, President and CEO of Transfinder. We're going to talk big topics today, a lot of trends. Summer's coming up, so excited to have you on the podcast, Tony.
Tony, thank you for having me. I'm super pumped to be part of this exciting times. I know clients are just getting geared up for the summertime, finishing up really the first full season post-COVID. I think I could say that. It's getting back to normal a little bit here, I think. A lot of our clients are full-blown, routing, and kids are going to school. And so even field trips, right? Even field trips are now coming back. So a lot going on here.
Dare I say it? Summer school? Is that actually going to happen?
I think so. I think most of our clients are looking forward to summer school, not because they want to continue working throughout the summer. It's they get an opportunity to test things out. I always tell our clients, good times clearly it's a lot of work to get prepared for the fall, but try things out, experiment. In our software development life cycle, we call those things exhaustive testing. Means test every combination permutation. You get to try that out in the summertime, not in the fall. And then when you make some massive changes, most likely there's going to be a lot of changes for the fall. Before you roll it out, have a little phased in rollout. Maybe you try things out. Maybe you try some new technology during the summertime. You bring in a tablet with turn-by-turn instructions, with a RFID card for attendance. Great time to try that out summertime. It's too late to do it right now if you haven't done it yet, but Great time to do it in summertime. Don't roll it out the first day of school. I think it's a crazy idea to do that. So that's why I think it's a little bit exciting for the summertime, because it's an opportunity to try things out.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a lot of people are resetting. You get your new budget basically July 1. If you still got any money left in your budget, it's kind of use it or lose it as well. So we got that June crunch. I don't know how much they have left in the budget with the fuel prices. It's been kind of crazy seeing diesel tick up and into the fives, maybe even $6 range. And, I feel like routing and optimization of those routes is kind of like essential. You can't survive in this environment without some of those tools and that technology. And, I want to just get a better sense of, you've rolled out a bunch of new additions to the Transfinder suite of products. What does that look like? How is that impacting customers in this kind of new world of higher fuel prices and the demand for multi-tiers, 2, 3 tiers, maybe even 4 tiers for those that dare? What's that look like?
Well, I tell you, optimization has always been a term that the industry's been a little bit intimidated. I think that's the right word, because it's almost like, the computer's going to give me a better way than I know. And I think this is where we've always struggled with this optimization term, that can the computer really give you a better solution than your most senior router can? And I got to tell you, a few years ago, I would say, I don't think so. I think computers are going to give you a great starting point, and that's about it. I really believe things have changed in such a way, especially what we've done to all algorithms, Tony. And I got to brag a little bit about what we've done and added a lot of artificial intelligence for our optimization to really work very well. We have places where our clients put in all those restrictions and all those policies that these senior people have it right in their head. Well, more of that information is put into the computer. The results, the way the system solves the routes, are very good. And Tony, yes, I think optimization is great, but how about when you just add a stop? Just adding a stop. You don't want to just throw everything up in the air. Let's just reroute everything because you added a stop. Where do you add that stop? Which trip do you add that stop to? And those are, listen, I've met thousands of routers that I've talked to, and our company has talked to, of course. Very talented people. 10 years ago, these individuals knew what they're doing. They had the time. They could test things out. The problem now is everyone's short staffs. Those routers are now driving also. So they don't have all that time to test things out. They need technology. Could they trust technology 10 years ago? I don't think I wouldn't trust it. I believe now technology has come in such long way, especially our solution, that the right timing. So trip optimization, stop optimization. You're talking about the bell time study. A lot of our clients that they used to have like 4 tiers, they've actually had to reduce it. And you know why they had to do that? It's just because they realize it's so tight that it's really difficult to do that. So some of them will actually reduce the tiering, which is the opposite. The past few years, everyone's been increasing. That way you could have the same vehicles, obviously going back and forth. But because the times are so tough, and the problem is that you'd have a substitute driver almost every day on different routes, and that little factor could just add 2-3 minutes everywhere. All of a sudden, your 4 tiers now becomes almost impossible, because you have almost like every day a certain percentage of your drivers are considered green. They're green drivers, like they're new drivers, and that is the problem. And there is a huge problem with that. Getting drivers, recruiting drivers, keeping drivers too. So I know you've heard tons about this, right, Tony?
Yeah, no, and I think the bigger question becomes, how do districts redefine how they recruit drivers, right? Because if it's the race of pay, if you offer that same scale of pay, or you're chasing your neighbor who gave $1 raise, you're basically just cannibalizing each other, right, in your local neighborhoods, because there's a certain pool of drivers. And I'm sure it's happened to some of our districts and some of our listeners that this happens. And maybe you got cannibalized cannibalized by Amazon or some other service that's not a school district that just has cooler reasons to work for them. But you know what? School districts need to redefine, like, I will say, their cool factor and look at kind of their technology stack and maybe use that as a new conversation to really empower their employees, i.e. the drivers, mechanics, whoever that stakeholder is, and really show off kind of what they have in their portfolio that maybe the next guy down the street doesn't have. I mean, what's your take on that?
Well, Tony, I tell you, every company at this point is having challenges of recruiting and also just retaining the employees. So I tell you, as Transfinder, we have had the same. People are leaving. They're potentially, because we're all working from home. They could work for any company from their house. So the geographic parameters and really restrictions are gone. So what we have to do, and we're constantly keep improving. And so I'm having the same conversation with our clients saying, let me tell you what we have to do. We have to keep really showing benefits, why it's great to work at Transfinder. What's the culture, right? We make a big deal about those things because it's not always about money. Yes, the great exodus means a lot of people are leaving for another company for more money. But who's staying behind and why you want to, who's coming to work for you? What's your culture look like? And I tell you, 10 years ago, our clients weren't thinking about culture. They weren't thinking about that. It was not even on their radar. But now we're talking to them saying, what's your culture look like? You need to have a culture. These are things that only private companies had to think about. But now everybody has to think about that. When you recruit somebody brand new, it's the base. How much going to get paid? How many days off I get? Oh, that's just a checkbox. What are you doing to go above and beyond your brand X competitor? Obviously, we have competitors, but our clients have neighboring school district as a potential competitor to recruit these drivers and staff members. So what you're doing to stand out? Money, yeah, that always goes great. But as a percentage of people, that doesn't really, it might make them happy short term, but what are you doing? I believe you should talk about, you come to my district, what do you get extra? We provide you a tablet that gives you left and right instructions, how to get there, which kids, there's a picture when you get to the stop. They'll have an RFID card. These are things that we got you covered. When you go to that neighboring district down the street, that maybe they'll give you an extra $1. But guess what? They'll give you a piece of paper while you're driving and steering with your knees. You're looking at those pieces of paper. Where's the left-hand turn? Oh, I just missed it. Now what? Get your hands back on the wheel and figure out how to get back on path because you don't know that neighborhood. So you might get $1 more down the street, but I give you technology that's going to really peace of mind, make you a lot more relaxed, and everyone's going to be safer. So again, these are just things that, what's your culture? What are you promoting? How are you going to be able to recruit more drivers than the school district near you? So these are things that as companies, we've always had to do that. What's the cool factor, right? At Transfinder, we have this beautiful terrace that we have a lot of gatherings, have a lot of fun, family get together. We've even had fireworks one year just for fun. But these are things that as a private company, we had to do that in order to recruit new people. And as we've been growing, we had to bring in a significant amount of new employees, all type. So these are the type of practices that we've done for years. I truly believe it's time for our clients, school districts, to start using those best practices. What are you doing to recruit? Money, yeah, that goes a long way. But at a certain point, that's going to just be even. And I think it's just a checkbox. You got to promote something above and beyond money because there'll always be somebody that's going to want to pay a couple dollars more. There'll always be, even non-school district. But what are you going to offer? What kind of culture do you have? Cameras. I remember, Tony, when cameras came out about like 15 years ago, really became mainstream. And drivers initially were like, wow, I'm going to get recorded, right? Remember the fear?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Then eventually the fear went away and saying, these cameras are here to protect you. Now we actually have recorded. It's recorded. That way, there's no question you did the right thing. I'm backing you, right? I'm supporting you. Same thing with GPS. Remember when GPS became really like, oh, now they're going to track every place I go? No, now when someone calls me that you blew down a street and didn't stop at their daughter's house, I have something to say. No, we did. And it's just maybe the turbo was a little bit loud, but didn't go any more than 20 miles an hour. And no, if you tell me that your mailbox was hit at 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm sorry, ma'am. That bus got there at 6:30, so it wasn't us. Wow. Remember, those drivers were all freaking out, and I got to tell you, I could see why. But now, like, we have all this data to protect you. So use that. A lot of our clients have GPS, they have all those cameras. Use that as a recruiting tool, saying, we got your back. Because we have technology, we invest in technology, we got your back. Maybe the other school district or the other company may not have your back. Maybe they'll pay you $2 more. But if something happens, then what? So, Tony, I'm just talking out loud here. I think schools have to really, these are not hard to do. I don't want you to think these are like really difficult. Maybe it sounds easy for me because we've done it for years, but this is what schools are already doing. I'm not telling you to reinvent yourself. Look around. What are you doing already? Well, then maybe you think it was important to really emphasize this during an interview. But think about it. You're doing things already. Maybe you have the best fleet that you won an award. Why not talk about that?
Well, it's electric too. Electric buses too, right? Like that's the cool factor. Everybody's talking about like, hey, if you have an electric bus, maybe a driver would like that better. I know I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago and they basically said, hey, look, I even got behind the wheel of that bus and drove it. And there's no noise other than maybe some artificial noise that the bus makes just so you know it's there. But it's actually, it's crazy how calming it is not hearing that rumbling. And if you hear that all day long, day in and day out, and that's all really school bus drivers know. But when you start to remove those sorts of things that were the norm and they're disrupted by this new like peaceful kind of environment. Now, granted, you got a bus full of kids, so you may hear them more, right? Screaming, yelling, but maybe even the kids are a little calmer. Right. I think that there's a dialogue there that we've heard that the general anxiety of all the noise actually brings the kids down a level. So it kind of an unintended consequence, but I really feel like you're on point where you're saying, hey, how do we raise our kind of cool factor or make it more attractive for people? You know, electric buses or alternative energy buses might be the way to go. We have to see what the outcomes are, but definitely I drove that bus. I got to feel it. Definitely I felt personally that way about the vehicle and the experience. So it's quite interesting to see and hear.
So Tony, you actually got to drive a bus?
I did it. It was in a parking lot. I don't have a commercial driver's license, so they let me rip it around the parking lot, which was cool, right? And I had passengers, not kids, but they were keeping an eye on me. So yeah, it was fun.
Let's just keep this between you and I. I also drove a bus many years ago in a parking lot, a big bus. And I tell you, the brakes, I never expected the brakes to work that way. They're the air brakes, and they were so sensitive. And I tell you, I felt so intimidated that, and I mean it. And I've always used that whole story about, a clipboard and piece of paper just flying. And while I'm just joking, obviously, steering with my knees. But it's intimidating. It's such a big vehicle that not only are you trying to figure out where to drive, the safety aspect, the kids making noise. Yeah, and that vehicle is making a lot of noise. All that is it's so nerve-wracking. I mean, for drivers to take that job, it's not just for money. It really isn't. There's no way I would want to get behind that bus because of I'm getting $1 more than someone down the street. It has got to be more than that and create an environment. We know it's about kids. There's a special people that work with students. Of course, we know this, Tony, but there's this cool factor. So yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, I think again, it rolls back up to how do you get drivers engaged? We're coming into summertime. Everybody's kind of dialing it back, right? I'm ready for summer vacation, but also you got all the summer conferences coming up. We know we have STN Expo coming up here, Indianapolis, literally a week away. So we're getting excited for that. That's June 3rd through the 7th. And if you guys haven't registered, you can always go on site. We'd love to see you there as well. There's a full agenda at stnexpo.com. We also got Reno, Nevada as well. So we'd love to see you guys there also. But yeah, lots happening, lots of content. I know we're going to see the Transfinder team live and in person at the conferences. And you're going to have some new products, something new and exciting to share with us, Tony, at the conferences. What do you got up your sleeve? Just between us, guys. We're just here.
It just us. Let's just keep it just between us, right? Yeah, that's the best way to market products. Keep it a secret as long as possible to guarantee nobody ever buys it. That's true, right? Well, we definitely have another massive release that's coming out on June 18th for our clients. So stay tuned for a brand new, another big release. And our mission is to have a massive release of all of our products 4 times a year. So this is the pre-summer big release. So it's exciting. We'll have a lot of new products. We have a new product that's a lot for collaboration for our own clients to collaborate with each other. So a lot of fun things that they actually could chat with each other. It's called Chat Finder. So a lot of things we're using chat as a way for service for our clients to chat with our service team, but we also created a version for them to chat with each other because we've seen so much information about how people have a question within the office. Emails is great, but nothing beats just a quick instant message back and forth, and all that is in your history. So we have a great product. It's called Chat Finder. We're doing a lot with our forms. It's called Form Finder, and I think we're going to have some fun during the STN Reno conference. So I think stay tuned for that big announcement then. But of course, our flagship product is Route Finder Plus, and that is our routing platform. It's a brand new versions coming out. We emphasize significant on more algorithms, more optimization, and performance, meaning speed. I want it to be significantly faster. I'm super pumped with how fast this new version's coming out in June compared to what's in production right now. And listen, I don't think too many people are saying, it's a little bit too slow. I think it's too slow. I don't want it to be super fast. So there's a lot of cool things. A lot of features are in there that are going to just blow our clients' mind. And of course, our new clients too.
Beautiful. Well, hey, Tony, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate you jumping on and enjoyed our conversation. Love to see how the districts really leverage the new tech to do recruitment. I think that's very exciting. And it's a whole new world with technology, and we'll see how everyone adapts.
Thank you, Tony. Take care.
Hey, special thanks to Antonio for joining us today, and special thanks to Miss Taylor Hannon for joining me as well. We appreciate you so much, Taylor, for being with us and writing all those great articles on stnonline.com, where you can get everything you guys need for the school transportation industry, all the trends, all the new happenings, webinars, conference updates. We got it all. And this podcast is sponsored by Transfinder. So special thanks to them for providing all the good stuff that you guys get on this podcast. All right, guys, don't forget STN Expo Indianapolis, STN Expo Reno. Get all that great information at all the conferences this summer, stnexpo.com. Don't forget, stream, follow, tell all your friends about the STN podcast, School Transportation Nation. We need you to spread the word. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, stnpodcast.com. We love you, Nation. We'll see you next week.